Hello students, now we will move on to the lesson 2, that is project designing, from the chapter project planning. To be viable and sustainable, a development project, whatever its size and outreach, should be anchored to a few essential guiding principles, and they are: the starting point of a project is the existence of a problem affecting a certain group or community. It can also involve an opportunity to improve that group's living and working conditions. The existence of a problem affecting a certain group or groups is a starting point for many development projects. A sustainable project is integrated and coherent with broader development or business plans. A project is a participatory exercise from beginning to end. A well-defined project is results-based. Any project includes a monitoring and evaluation system. A project has to be sustainable. The core elements of sustainability are social sustainability, that is, impact on working conditions, compliance with international labor standards, social protection, etc. Financial sustainability, financing of follow-up activities, sources of revenue for all future operating and maintenance costs, etc. Institutional sustainability, that is, structures that allow the results of the action to continue. Consider local ownership of outcomes. Environmental sustainability, impact on the environment. Avoid negative effects on natural resources and on the broader environment. Finally, each project is unique. Project cycle management. There are different approaches to project design. Many development organizations and donor agencies use project cycle management methodology and the logical framework tool the most. Project cycle management. Every project has to follow a series of phases, allowing the process to be guided from the moment the problem is identified until it is solved. This series of phases is known as a project cycle. Project cycle management, or PCM, is a results-based decision-making tool. Each phase is crucial and should be fully completed before going on to the next. Programming new projects will draw on the final evaluation in a structured process of feedback and institutional learning. Design is a starting point of the project cycle. Project design provides a structure of what has to be achieved, how it is to be implemented, and how progress will be verified. Therefore, the design is the most crucial phase. Its quality will influence the following stages in the project cycle. Too often, little time is devoted to this phase due to scarcity of resources. Designing a project requires an upfront investment. Nevertheless, the less people are willing to invest in designing their project, the higher the risk of compromising its quality when the time for implementation comes. In the case of resources, it is best to allocate a considerable amount to this stage, which can facilitate and improve the quality of analysis and identification of real needs. If financial resources are not available, time is still an important factor, one that can, for instance, contribute to cohesion among stakeholders and familiarity with the context and its main problems and challenges. The project cycle management approach helps to ensure that projects are relevant to the real problems of the target groups and make the most of existing opportunities. Projects are feasible, objectives can be realistically achieved within the constraints of the external environment and the capacities of the organization. The benefits generated by the projects are sustainable, although this may differ according to the procedures established by each donor agency. The project cycle generally has 5 phases. They are designing, appraisal, submission and approval, implementation and monitoring, Final evaluation. Step 1. Project identification. The first step in the design phase of the project management cycle is the identification of the project. The methodology is called situation analysis. It consists of a series of tools that allow to develop project idea. It is the most important component of the project cycle because it facilitates the anchoring of the project activities to needs and priorities of the target group. At the same time, it is crucial to conduct it in the wider framework of international and national priorities such as the Millennium Development Goals, to which the project aims to contribute in the long term. Analyzing the situation in the framework of international, national and local priorities helps to identify the nature and magnitude of needs, prioritize them and establish the first criteria for developing the project idea. It can be used by the project team as an institutional reference and starting point for the specific project situation analysis. It helps to map the relationships among all those involved and to create a sense of ownership of the project and its future development. It improves the whole project proposal in terms of sustainability and emphasizes how the project is a part of the wider strategy. Several tools exist for a situation analysis. To prepare a results-based project, 4 things has to be done. They are stakeholder analysis and target group selection, problem analysis, objective analysis and alternative selection. Conducting a stakeholder analysis and selecting target group. The focus of a results-based project is the target group. Since the project also aims at achieving sustainability, in addition to the target group, other players have to be considered at this stage. By understanding their potential role in the project and their interests and expectations in terms of benefits. Right at the beginning, it is therefore necessary to identify all the stakeholders likely to be affected by the project and analyze their potential involvement in it. The stakeholders are not only the people and institutions that carry out the project, but also those structures and organizations that play a role in the project environment. Methodology. As the first action in the project design process, people in charge of the project design can get organized into a group. In the ideal case, the project should be designed using participatory planning methods which actively involve all the members. For instance, a project design workshop combined with a series of brainstorming sessions, individual meetings, focus group discussions are very useful. The project team must bear in mind that there is a direct relationship between participation and sustainability and should be aware of the risks of exclusive processes. Selecting the target group or direct recipients and ultimate beneficiaries. The target group is a group of people who will benefit from the project. Within the stakeholder analysis, the target group analysis is of particular relevance and requires special attention. In most projects, organizations will not deliver direct services to persons, but run services that build the capacities of organizations so they can provide new or better services to a certain group of people. Therefore, need to distinguish between the direct recipients of project outputs or services and the ultimate beneficiaries. The direct recipients are those who are directly affected by the core problem and who will benefit from the project outputs and services. The ultimate beneficiaries are those who will benefit from the project in the long term. During project design, it is particularly important to assess the capacity of the direct recipients carefully. Are they really committed? Do they have the resources like time, staff, etc. to participate in the project? And do they have the capacity to play their role in the project? Building up the capacity of the target groups is crucial not only to achieve the project's objectives and outputs, but also to ensuring that the benefits are sustained once the project ends. Analyzing the problem. Every project aims to help to solve a problem that affects the target group or groups. The problem analysis identifies the negative aspects of an existing situation and establishes the cause and effect relationship among the problems that exist. The core problem of the target group must be clearly identified. It is essential to understand the root causes of the problem and the effects the problem has on the beneficiaries. This can be represented diagrammatically by constructing a problem tree. The causes are structured by clustering similar ones and by developing a hierarchy of causes. The core problem must be the starting point for every project. It provides the rationale and gives it meaning in that it aims to make a significant contribution to solving a relevant problem for the target group. If the starting point for the project is a detected opportunity, then it is still important to identify the main problem or challenge hindering the desired situation from becoming a reality. So, regardless of our initial positive or negative considerations when looking at the existing situation, we'll always end up by identifying the core problem or challenge to tackle. The key purpose of this analysis is to make sure that all the root causes are identified and subsequently addressed in the structure of the project, not just the symptoms of the problem. The key to a successful project is to tackle the causes of the core problem. The effects of the core problem are in the form of more general social, environmental, political or economical conditions, usually negative, that results from the problem. The core problem generates consequences or other problems. Building the problem tree. The exercise of building a problem tree is important as it is an opportunity to discuss openly the problems to address with all the stakeholders, whilst it is also a learning process. It is the most important stage of the project design because it will be the basis of the subsequent analysis and decision making on the project priorities. Analyzing the objectives. The analysis of objectives is a participatory approach used to describe the situation in the future once problems have been resolved and to illustrate the means-end relationships. Like the problem tree exercise, the objective tree should be developed through a consultative workshop, ideally with the same stakeholders. The stakeholder and internal analysis should also be taken into consideration while assessing how realistic the achievement of some objectives is and also identifying other means necessary to achieve the desired end. Like the problem tree, the objective tree has three main components. Firstly, the desired situation. This corresponds to the core problem on the problem tree transformed into a positive statement. The desired situation represents the real change that the project will achieve. Secondly, the means to achieve the desired situation. The objective tree includes all the necessary and sufficient situations, also called means or objectives, that are necessary to obtain the desired situation. Finally, the desired situation impacts. In the problem tree, the main problem was also the cause of other problems. These are called problem impacts. Correspondingly, the desired situation is a means to achieve positive situations that contribute to tackling the problem's effects. These positive situations are called desired situation impacts. An impact can be poverty reduced in the region, etc. Selecting strategy. Once objective tree has been finalized, then select the project strategy, which is the final step in the situation analysis. It implies the selection of the strategy that will be used to achieve the desired objectives. It involves deciding what objectives will be included in the project and what objectives will remain outside it. You need to set clear criteria for making the choice. In most cases, a single project cannot address all the objectives necessary to solve the problem fully. The project team must therefore use the objective analysis to choose the strategy that can make the most significant contribution to solve the problems. The formulation step is based on the understanding gained during the situation analysis, which both justifies and drives the project identification. At the same time, it sets out the benefits the intended action will bring to the target group. The purpose of a project formulation is to come up with the best possible operational way to deal with the core problem affecting the target group. The key stakeholders and target groups usually take a leading role in formulating the project. This ensures that the project deals with the real context and promotes ownership and commitment. Again, make sure that all stakeholder groups have the opportunity to voice their views, especially those who are often less vocal, such as women, young people, and people living with a disability. The logical framework is a way of presenting the substance of the project in a comprehensive and understandable form. It is the structure of project proposal. It is used to organize all the main elements of objective tree, including the objectives, outputs, activities, indicators, and assumptions as illustrated. The logical framework matrix, also called log frame, is considered a planning tool because it shows the output chain or series of expected results for the project with a cause-effect relationship among the different project components. It describes the results-based management approach. It shows how assumptions influence each level of the output chain. It also contains the indicators that will be used to measure progress and the means of verifying results. The log frame usually consists of a matrix with 4 columns and 4 rows which summarize the project structure. The first column is the project's hierarchy of objectives. It identifies what the project wants to achieve and how, and clarifies the causal relationships. Project objectives are achieved by providing the direct recipients with certain outputs. Outputs are produced by a set of activities. The outputs and activities are the means to obtain the objectives. The second and third column list indicators and the means of verification of impact and the knowledge and sources required to assess the reliability of data. In other words, the indicators provide evidence of the project's progress toward the intended objectives. Hence, they are the core components of the project monitoring and evaluation system, which enables the implementing agency to make the necessary adjustments throughout the implementation as well as to demonstrate the project's progress to the stakeholders, donors, and other partners. Once the indicators have been decided, the means of verification provide precise reference to the sources of information to be consulted in order to verify the project's performance and results. Indicators can be quantitative, such as number of members, percentage of women participating in board meetings, etc., or qualitative, that is customer satisfaction, quality of services, etc., but all of them have to be accessible. The fourth column specifies important assumptions and uncertainties beyond the control of the project. The context in which the project operates plays an essential role in its success. Factors beyond the project's control may affect the achievement of the outputs. For example, a major unexpected flood or drought can provoke substantial crop failures regardless of the successful implementation of a rural development project. Such events or conditions are identified in the assumption analysis and incorporated into the project design. This explains what the project does for the final beneficiaries in the longer term. It should address the core problem and be set out in terms of sustainable benefits for the target group. An immediate objective describes the desired project outcome for the target group or the direct recipients. In general, these are desirable changes for the target group in behavior, in a system or service or in institutional performance. These are the products of the activities, the combination of which leads to the achievement of the immediate objective. Activities, these are the actions and means that will produce the outputs. In most cases, they are related to training, equipment, institutional support, planning, studies, etc. The project design requires an implementation plan, also called work plan, for the activities listed in the log frame. The work plan demonstrates that the project is feasible in terms of responsibilities, schedule and resources. It is a basis for monitoring the operations of the project. It allows the project manager to see whether all the planned activities are implemented in the planned time by the right staff and within the planned budget. Some donors ask for the work plan before giving their approval. The work plan usually needs to be adjusted just before the project operations start and during the implementation. The work plan is established by the project design team and consists of 4 matrices: a work breakdown matrix, which lists the activities and specific tasks; a responsibility matrix, which sets out who is responsible for each activity; a calendar of activities, which states when each activity will be completed; a resource or inputs plan, which sets out the requirements for staff, equipment and material, and for the budget preparation, giving the cost of resources needed. These tools allow the project team in charge of execution to monitor the implementation of the project activities and outputs once the project is operational. Basically, M&E is about comparing what was originally planned with what actually happens. It tracks progress at each level of the logical framework: activities, outputs, outcomes and impacts or objectives. M&E has 4 key concepts: comparison, measurement, verification and action. Evaluation is essentially a reality test to assess the significance of the project. In particular, it looks at the efficiency, effectiveness, impact, sustainability and relevance of the project given in its stated objectives. Evaluation has 2 specific purposes: accountability and learning. Accountability refers to the obligation of the project to demonstrate to the donor, stakeholders, beneficiaries and others that it was implemented in compliance with its original design, agreed contracts and plans. Moreover, evaluation offers opportunities to learn about the achievement of results and the performance of the project team. Lessons learned can be applied to future projects. Evaluation is a periodic assessment which usually takes place at the middle or at the end of the project, whereas monitoring is a continuous internal process that analyzes the project's achievements concerning the outputs to enable project managers to take corrective action when necessary. This brings us to the end of this lesson. Any questions?
Hi ma'am, this is Swarna. What is the difference between project plan and project schedule?
Okay, project schedule is part of the project plan. Apart from the project schedule, a typical project plan has scope, risk management plan, schedule management plan, communications plan, procurement plan, team structure, tracking mechanisms, assumptions, dependencies, major milestones, etc. Any further questions? This brings us to the end of this unit. Thank you.